Hello, everybody. How the devil are you? It is 11:15 on a Thursday morning here in sunny Los Angeles. Is it sunny? It's a little bit sunny. I'm having a bad hair day. So, like all good people with bad hair days, put on a hat. And I know there's a certain section of people that are very fascinated with my hair. So thank you. Eric has the better hair. I mean, Eric, come on camera here. The people have got to see.
Will they?
Look at that. See, much better. Yeah.
I don't know. I do want like more of the messy hairstyle, but
I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. We always call it the dictator. It's the Korean dictator haircut. He's at least that's what Dustin Thomas called him. Anyway, so here we are in the new studio, still getting it together somewhat. So please pardon our dust, I think isn't that what people say? Pardon our dust. But it is coming together nicely. We've got the Genelecs out at the moment. As you know, we've got quite a few speakers and we rotate them. We've got the original 1032s out and the Jones Scanlon. And the reason why I have those two pairs out at the moment is because the Jones Scanlon are the ones I've been using a lot recently. So my ears kind of tune to them. And of course, the 1032s are the speakers I essentially grew up using. So it makes sense when you're in a new room. But the reality is this room is unfreaking believable. I did talk to Stephen about this yesterday, and he's happy for everybody to know. But, you know, we have two identical rooms here, and our good friend, Mr. Stephen Slate, is in the room next door in our studio, and he's doing incredible stuff in there. Yesterday, I went in there and listened to all his headphones and everything. So you're going to see an episode of that. And the reason why he chose these rooms, which are identical, is because he's a very smart man, and he went all the way around Los Angeles looking at hundreds of different rooms and chose the one that sounded the flattest. These rooms are unbelievably flat. That's why we went in here. So we're going to do a lot of fun stuff. We're going to do some speaker testing in these rooms. We're going to do all the kinds of things that you could only do in a really, really flat room. And it's going to make reviews even better still. So very, very excited. It's a beautiful room. It's a room within a room. It's got a floating floor, the floating ceiling even. It is insane how good it sounds. All of these walls are, well, like my other ones, are cloth with, with all of the, what's it called? All the acoustic treatment inside of it, but very exciting. Anyway, but for today, and this is a song that's inside of the Academy and also was done as a course with Brad Wood. Is the Brad Wood course inside of the Academy as well?
I believe it is. Yeah, actually, it is.
So it's inside of the Academy as well. It's a wonderful course. And so if you're should be a link down below. Is there a link down below to download the multitracks for those of you that haven't already done that?
There is.
There is, apparently, says Eric. Woohoo! Now, this is a song by a wonderful artist that we have worked with for years called Katey Laurel. And Katey, I talk about her fairly a lot because she's one of those artists that's incredibly on it, very organized. And as is typical, we're doing this with DistroKid. So thank you, DistroKid. DistroKid are paying for this live stream. They're paying Eric's wages. So thank you, DistroKid. And the reason why we support DistroKid is because DistroKid allows producers, engineers, and mixers and artists and all that kind of stuff to take the money at source and divide it and pay artists, producers, etc. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, typically, not everybody's Katey Laurel. Katey Laurel is the only artist I've ever worked with who provides me with accounting every single quarter and tells me what we've sold and what I'm owed and sends me a check. That's how on it Katey is. She's really, really super on it. Really good businesswoman as well as being an incredibly talented artist. Now, she's the exception. I don't know about you guys and girls, I have lots of major label releases. You know my resume, Frey, Augustana, James Blunt, Aerosmith, all that stuff. Ace Frehley, Rick Springfield, blah, blah, blah. Tons and tons of stuff. So I've done lots of bigger albums on labels and they provide accounting. They pay slowly, but they do pay. And independent artists, it's difficult because they don't have a team of people around them to take the, $1,100 they made that quarter and divide it up between everybody that's owed money. And you can't really blame them because a lot of independent artists have additional income coming in from streaming and occasional CD sales and all that stuff. And you might be owed money from it, but you're asking them to spend hours and hours and hours calculating the $57 you're owed. And that's a difficult thing to do. Not everybody's Katey Laurel. So what I love about DistroKid is they do that work for you. So every time a dollar comes in, it's split up. So if you've worked out a deal where you're getting 20% of the earnings, which might be quite typical for a modern producer now, to get something like 20%, every time a dollar comes in, you get 20 cents, and DistroKid sends it to you. So is the DistroKid link underneath?
It is.
It is.
Also in the chat.
So they've been very generous. Most people that do work with DistroKid get like a 7, 8, sometimes even a 10% off. DistroKid have given us 30 because they know that our audience is you, as guys and girls like you, people that actually do music for a living, or at least do it at a hobby at quite a high level. There's so many talented people here. Our academy is full of people that can mix so well. People come in at one level, and within 6 months, they're so much higher level because the community is so fantastic. So, once again, this is a multi-track that's in here. Once again, DistroKid are sponsoring it, and let's have a listen. Now, this mix, Eric, is this the console mix, or is this...
Console mix.
Okay, so what we're going to listen to now is an SSL console mix, not done on my brand new Audient ASP 4816 Heritage Edition. Did I get that all right? Not done on that yet. You'll start seeing me mixing on the console sooner rather than later. But at the moment, this is one that was mixed on the SSL. So we're going to see if we can beat it while mixing in the box. Let's check it out.
Sirens call us to the grounds.
Okay, so love playing along with this song, by the way. And I must say, for those of you that download the multi-tracks, don't be afraid to do some additional production. Don't be afraid to mute things that I've done. this is what we encourage. It is called Produce Like a Pro for a reason. This is about production. There's a lot of conversation about mixing. Most channels are mix with the mix with the mix with the mix. And I understand that, but then there's that sort of thing in place, thinking that it's never about the recording or the production or the arrangement or the songwriting. It's just like mixing's going to save it and make it a hit. Well, no. I remember talking to Dave Jordan about this years ago when he was producing my band, I think in 98, 99. And he asked me, and forgive me if you've heard the story before, he asked me what my favorite records were. And I named them off. And some of them are fairly well recorded, and a couple of them aren't. A couple of them are pretty awful recorded. And he just said, there's kind of the point. It's about the performance. Now, don't get me wrong. We are working on our craft and our art. And there is realms of acceptability. But sometimes, a song should sound lo-fi. In this instance, for instance, it doesn't sound lo-fi, but what it does sound is, a little less than perfect super modern. Now, when Brad mixed this song, for instance, he actually went big on the low end. But when we came to master it, Ruben pulled in the low end ever so slightly. If you have the mastering course with so now it's got a very familiar beat on it. Here's the beat. Let's have a listen. And we did mirror Be My Baby. We basically listened to that and we produced our own version of it. And I was trying to think, Phil. So Phil, what happened is we'd had Victor and Drizzo had come down to Harmony, and he brought this, how would I best describe it? Like a calf skin kind of, not kick drum, but sort of floor tomish kind of thing. And he went boom, boom, boom. And so we took that and we, messed with it and ended up getting something very close to Be My Baby. Okay, now here's the drum print in the chorus. Let's go to that. So obviously we mirrored that. Here's the timpani. So again, following the groove. There's something I love about classic Motown and soul tracks where everybody's playing the same song. If you think about, like Heard It Through the Grapevine is always the one I use because it's like bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, and everything is like boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom, boom. Everything plays that same groove. It's one of the secrets of a great Motown soul track. By the way, shout out to the Queen herself, Tina Turner. It was incredibly sad to see that she had died. I saw her, I was trying to remember the year. I want to say 89. Anybody remember when she played the UK? Was it very late 80s, early 90s? Anyway, I saw her and it was absolutely amazing. And she did like Nutbush City Limits in the middle of, all of the modern stuff. And wow, what an incredible performer. And of course, if you've watched Tommy, you know her from that. So let's put those three elements together. Now, the timpani is actually playing the bass line. So it's providing the rhythm of the song, but it's also playing the bass line. Which is just that ascending F, G, A minor, C. I never did stabs on this. I don't believe I did. We'll have a check in a minute. So if you want to download these and do some production stuff on your own, might be the dum, da, dum, ga. Maybe do some stabs. Maybe do some classic kind of, not ska, but, soul stabs. Here's throw in the tambourine. Now, I printed that with verb on it, so it's actually on it with the verb. That's my old Ludwig tambourine, which is in the live room in there, but it's like a little tambourine. It's the Beatles size one that Ringo played, and it's just drenched in verb. Now let's hear the bass. The bass is probably just a DI. Ah, yeah, and we put it on a spring reverb deliberately. So there's spring reverb on this. It's flat wound strings, spring reverb. Let's put these elements together. So before we do anything, we're just going to listen to it like this. You'll notice a lot of these tracks are stereo. They're stereo because they have effects on them and they have reverb on them. And they've been printed, and you can do whatever you like to them, but they are printed like this. Now, with the piano as well. There's a reverse piano coming out of the section. We've got a track here called Twiddly Piano. Now, the main piano is the Yamaha, is actually our old Yamaha C7, which, you know, was used on Adele's Someone Like You in harmony. And I believe the Twiddly piano is that as well. Strings, done in Logic. And acoustic guitars, left and right. This is me on acoustic. Now, what I wanted a wall of sound, Phil Spector guitar. Now, you probably know this if you're a fan of Phil Spector's productions, but what he would often do is get like 4 people sitting around in a circle and stick a mic in the middle. That's what Jack told me when they did Happy Christmas, War Is Over. They just had like a whole bunch of people playing acoustic guitar and then a mic. And that's essentially live, I believe, the whole of that recording. So the only way to do that, being as I was the only person playing guitar, is I did a mandolin, an acoustic guitar, and also a ukulele. And so if you get all of those together, to give all these different voicings on these different instruments, so... I just wanted that movement because it's boom, 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 boom. So I wanted some. I just wanted the track to have a little bit of a groove and a bit of a feel. So let's do that with the strings just for schnizzles. Let's have a listen. Throw in the twiddly piano. Let's put in the chords. Bass. And then timpani and tambourine together. And then we've got our live drums and our beat. Now, all we've got left to listen to is obviously the lead vocal, but as far as the instrumentation is concerned, we've got my Telecaster 1 and 2, so why don't we just pan those left and right and see what we've got. Let's have 3 Telecasters, so have a listen to this. This is our Telecaster 1. As you can tell, I'm not afraid to use reverb. Now, you could argue that those two together, the first two could be one part, so like an octave. So octave, have a listen to those. So I might do that. So why don't we do that? We'll have the low and high octave, and then we'll do the chagajang on the other side. We'll throw in. So let's start building a little bit of grouping here. Now, I think the beat itself. Now, here's what's interesting about the beat. Now, obviously, if you use this beat and you treat it in a modern way, you'll want to put some more low end on it, which is not a bad idea. However, you know, we're trying to get that balance between it sounding modern but still retro. So, and we also don't want so much low end that when the drum print comes in, it starts to kind of compete with itself. So here's the drum print, for instance, in the choruses. And then here's the beat with it. It almost feels like there's a phasing going on. Can you hear that? Some like cancellation going on in the kick. The low end starts to disappear. So why don't we just check that out and see whether that is what's really happening? Interestingly enough, it says the phase is good. So we could do one of two things, couldn't we? We could take the beat that we built, that boom 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 ja. We could take that and we could have low end on it when it isn't playing along with the beat in the chorus, and then duck it when it's playing with the beat in the chorus. So we could have a more defined low end from this. So let's have a listen to the drum print on its own. So why don't we do this? Let's grab a compressor. I'm going to try and keep this as simple as possible and use stock style compressors, etc. And we're in Pro Tools, obviously. Whatever particular one you're in. If I go and grab, well, what comes free with Pro Tools is the Bomb Factory. This is the Bomb Factory 1176, which, to be honest, only looks like a 1176, but it's worth exploring. Now let's go to the fastest release time. Now, a lot of people run into this problem when using 1176s, that they don't realize that the fastest time and the slowest time are counterintuitive. Meaning, if I go to 7, which is a higher number, that's actually a faster release time than 1. I know it doesn't make any sense, but that's the way it works. Bypass it. Let's get level matching a little better for those of you that can't hear the difference about the level being exact. I know it takes a bit of time to hear the differences, but here it is. Here it is. Should be pretty even now. Here's the effect. So this is with a slower attack time. So you see it's got a slow attack time, so it's letting some transients go through with a fast release. Here's without it. Still a little bit quiet. Try and get these matched a little bit more. Here's with the compression on. Bring it up just a little bit more. Bring this down a little bit more. No compression. With compression. It's just giving a bit more spank to, isn't it? Pa, pa. That's what I love about 1176. It's just giving a little bit of spank to it. So I'm wondering, just because for the heck of it, whether if we copy this up to the beat, what that's going to do as well. So here it is now on the main beat. without. It's definitely exaggerating the of it, which might be good, might be bad. I like it, and I think it's going to add to the sort of mystique of the track, because we want this to, you know, we've kept reverb, we printed things with reverb, we recorded them with reverb on it. So let's listen to the two elements together now. Now without them, no compression on. Now with compression on. Just a little bit more exciting and interesting, isn't it? Just a little bit more exciting and interesting. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just on the drum print, which is the drums that we recorded at Harmony. I'm just going to add a little bit of EQ. So again, let's go something really generic. So I'm trying to use as generic plugins as possible, because it won't matter what DAW you're using. It is irrelevant what DAW you're using. You could be mixing this in FL Studio, Reaper, Logic, you name it. So what is the most generic EQ, Eric? I always forget. That's it. I always forget what their one's called. Where is it?
DYN.
Well, I should be doing this. I should just go to Avid, shouldn't I? Here you go. EQ7, EQ37. Okay, there it is. All right. So I'm going to listen with them both together. I don't have a problem with high passing. So if you can see there, I've just clicked in the high passing at 20. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to 60 here, which is pretty typical for me. It says 58 too. Well, that's interesting. Bypass. Now back on. So what I'm probably going to do is put another EQ on the beat and maybe high pass when the chorus comes in. We'll get into that. So keep that in mind. We'll probably high pass maybe 80 on the original beat when the chorus comes in, so this drum part can take over and we can get a more defined kick. So there's no kind of phase cancellations. Let's just see what it sounds like to do it. You know, I've said I'll keep it in mind, but why not? Let's just do it now so you get an understanding of where my brain's going. Again, I'm working very slowly. I'm explaining everything. I'm working far more in solo than I normally would. But this is a great way for us to demonstrate what's going on. So I'm just going to use an EQ just on one band, and I'm going to go to high pass, and we're going to come down to about 80 to 100-ish kind of area. Let's say 90-ish, 89.1. I want you to concentrate on this. See if you can tell a difference in low end. So you remember years ago, there was all those videos about don't high pass, and Lem actually called me up one day and said, Warren, stop talking about it. So it's been a while. And one of the things I said was, if you don't high pass, you'll get less low end. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, the problem is that when you get multiple sources with low end that's very, very slightly out of phase, the polarity's all slightly like that, you get less low end and you just get mud and you don't get definition. So let's just see if the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Now this, let's come up ever so slightly higher. This is about 93.9 on the beat. So now all of the low end below that is coming from the drum print. So I'm going to turn this EQ on and off. So in theory, if you go back to all of those hundreds of videos that were telling you not to high pass, shouldn't there be more low end without that EQ on, without that high passing on? That's the theory. So why don't we listen to it with the EQ on, and then I'll take it off. Here we go. All right, let's turn it off. And on. there is just a more defined low end because it's coming from one source. It's a little bit, at the moment, I haven't really pushed the low end as anywhere near as we could, but there's more defined. It's a little bit like when you take a DI of a bass and an amp signal and you choose which one to just have the low end. You get more low end, you get a cleaner low end if you just use the DI. I've been teaching that now for about, forever since I've been doing it. And now everybody I know, talks about that online and they use the same technique. It's a great technique and it works wonders. So you use your DI for your low end and you use your amp sound for all of the, all the personality and all the mids and all that kind of stuff. So we're doing a similar thing here. We'll probably turn this EQ on and off depending on the section of the song, leaving it on at the moment because these drums are playing. Now let's just get a little bit more aggressive on the low end here. Just a bit more. I'm actually going to increase my slope. What's going on? There you go. It's more defined, it's tighter. You probably heard me turn it on and off. If you're tuned in, you'll hear it. The other thing I like to do is pull out a little bit of 80 to 100 to allow the bass to breathe. But there's something about this song, and the good thing about this song is it doesn't matter if there's going to be a bit of glued together, a little bit of overlap, because it is an old school sounding song. We've got reverb on everything, we're not getting in there trying to make it super, super hi-fi because it's supposed to be retro. But if I throw in the bass now, put in the timpani, which is mirroring the bass line. Easy for me to say. Tambourine. I just think that simple increase of low end on the drum print has actually made everything sort of make a bit more sense. And that's the only thing we've done. We've turned up the drum print, it's gone up by 3 dB, and we put some low end on it. And now the song starts to feel more like a song. We're doing very little here. And then we've done some compression on both the drum print and the beat, just to get some ka. So what we've got is you've got a slower attack time. You're letting the transient come through on the beat, and then you've got a faster release. But you aggressively 2 to 3 dB worth of compression. Not a lot, but just enough to make it go snap on the front and then and pick up that little extra, compression, making it a little bit roomier on the beat. I love doing that. Throw in the piano. Now, I think the piano could do with being brightened a little bit. So let's go and grab, again, we're going to keep this all stock plugins. So let's do a couple of things. Let's listen to it with the drums. Let's do some high passing. Let's be very Bob Clearmountain about this. Oh, by the way, if you haven't... if you don't know, we're actually having a book launch party tomorrow. And if you haven't already got the book, Eric, can you put up a link to the book? And we're doing it at Apogee. Thank you, Apogee, the wonderful people at Apogee, letting us use their beautiful live room, their whole PA. The band, The Last International, is going to play. We're going to record it. Bob Clearmountain is going to record it. And Bob Clearmountain is going to mix it. And we're going to make those multi-tracks available. How freaking cool is that? So that's happening tomorrow night. I'm sure we'll do some live streaming from it. It's pretty amazing. So thank you, Apogee, for being so awesome. Thank you, Bob and Betty and Bob. Now, all I've done is given it a gentle slope at about 6K and above. This is quite a dark piano, so there's not a lot. It's the C7, it's played softly, it's just stereo mic with a pair of consecutive serial number 87s, which are sitting in the closet over there. I think the only problem for me is like do. Some of those little notes are getting lost, aren't they? Some of the articulation's getting lost. So we have to decide where we're going to do that. I think I'm going to put the compression after the EQ. You could try it the other way around and see what works for you. But I'm going to put it after because I think we've taken out some of that low end that we didn't want. And if there's too much excessive low end, sometimes that's what hits the compressor first. I don't think I want it to hit the compressor first. So we'll go to the 1176 as well. Again, but as basic as it comes. And keep listening. Now I'm starting to hear some of that articulation. Let's bypass it. I'm hearing glang, 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 but I'm barely hearing arpeggios. Once more, with it in bypass. And now take that off. So now with the compression. Now there's more perceived loudness because the initial glang is at the same volume, but all of the intricacy between is in there. That's another thing I think that confuses people is they look at peaks, they don't understand like, and it's, it takes a while to learn that the energy, the perceived volume is going to be more because if you get a snap, bang, before it's bang, bang, now it's still bang at the same volume, but everybody's like, it's louder. It's like, yeah, it's bringing up those quieter parts. So it's balancing. So here was our initial hits and here was our arpeggios. The hits, the same volume. Arpeggios are now here. So there will be a perceived increase in volume because the quieter parts will now be louder, but the overall peak value will remain the same. So bear that in mind. That does confuse people because then what they do is they want to pull it down so the arpeggio layers are the same and they're like, oh, I can't hear any difference. It's like, yeah, it's the difference between the different peak area and like here's the energy of the arpeggio down here. Here's the peak. Peak has remained the same. No difference here. Arpeggio levels now there. That's what the compressor's doing. So we're on the fastest release and we've got a fairly slow attack. I think that sounds great. We don't have to do anything else. Now, we might, on the rest of the mix, start tweaking and stuff, but we're slowly getting in there and just adding little bits and pieces. So let's add our twiddly piano in and see how that feels. I'm inclined to leave it as it is. Now, out of just superstition, quite frankly, I could just grab and there's not really any high end in that part. It's just ding, 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 ding. That's how I played it. But we could just get in there and I have no problem with doing this and just let's have a listen with it in context. I went up to 800. Let's go in here. So we're going to have to turn that EQ off that we did on the beat. Like I said, the beat stuff in the verse is going to need some work to it. So we're going to turn off that high pass and we did that's just for the choruses. But we're working on the chorus here just as an illustration. Now let's listen to the strings in there. Throw in the acoustics. mandolin and the ukuleles, or the ukuleles. Fantastic. So I think we could do some high passing on that. Let's throw in the Telecasters. I think the other thing we can do is take all of these acoustics and everything. So why don't we call this just acoustics? I'm going to put it in capitals. So I'm just creating a group. Now I'm bringing it down. I might even high pass this as this goes on. I might high pass this a little bit more. Thank you, Andre. Sorry, I haven't been reading any of the comments. We're going to have to figure out getting that here, Eric.
Yeah.
And that camera should be here
Yeah.
because I'm doing
Sean
this.
Wade also gave us a donation of $10.
Thank you, Sean. You're buying Eric's lunch. And you might have bought him yesterday's as well. Yesterday we went to a really great burrito place down the street, didn't we?
Yeah.
What's it called? I don't remember.
man.
I think it was just called Tacos, wasn't it?
It was just, yeah. That's
And it just had a sign that said tacos. And it was really good. And it's funny, the guy says, he said, see you tomorrow. And I was like, you should go back just to write really, because it's one of those things like, hey, come back. Like, hey, we're back. Now, here's the thing. I don't know what you guys and girls think, but I feel like the snare, it's right on the verge, isn't it? And we don't have a lot of choice because we are using this drum print here. So what we should do is we should take the low end boost down just a bit. So why don't I take it down? It's at 5.5 here. I'll take it down to 4.5 and turn the overall drum mix up. So that's coming up. Let's have a listen. So we're keeping the low end in about the same place, but we're bringing, because we brought the low end down, but we're bringing up the overall drum print so that the snare is more prominent because it's on a 2-track. I don't know Michael, the owner of the, I think he may have co-owned it with Katey, who's the guy we bought the studio from. I haven't actually met Michael, so I can't speak to that. Reduce the low end on the kick, and so then by turning everything else up, now the relationship between the kick and the snare is slightly better. It's these subtle things. You know, we're doing a less is more here. We're not like ripping apart the song and compressing and EQing everything.
There we go. You got audio.
Okay, we had a dropout for some reason. Okay, so this background print, what I like about it is it's got this this kind of high end in it. So why don't we just kind of exaggerate that? Again, I'm doing this we're doing a very Bob Clear Mountain thing here. We're not listening to anything in solo. We did it initially, but now what we're trying to do is just build the track up without soloing everything. So I'm just going to get in there, grab, again, a stock EQ. So whatever EQ you use, it's going to be fine. So you see I'm exaggerating that. So the high-end stuff. And then let's see if we can just high pass some. Okay, now here's Phil's harmonies. So Phil went crazy on this. So Phil is my old engineer and old production partner. Wonderful, wonderful guy. Great drummer. He played drums on this. Both he and I play guitar and piano and bass and all that stuff, but he's a much better drummer than I am. So we'll call it Phil BVs. Yeah, it was always great. He could just run in there and play that groove and Bob's your uncle. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pan these around. I'm just going to go left and right for the initial result, and we might narrow them. But one way we can narrow them is actually put them into a stereo group. I like those. They weren't as featured in the original mix, so this might be kind of a tasty thing to do. So I'm bringing them down considerably. I like this. I keep saying. I like that a lot. So I'm actually going to bring those elements up a little bit. So there. Let's bring those up. I really want to feature those a bit more. We've got the RR, which I loved, but this could give it a whole different interpretation. Really like this, and it's this is what's wonderful about remixing a song you've mixed before. I can really go for it. Now let's throw in Katey's dry vocal. Now, I have got now, if you remember, I did this vocal, I believe into a 57. We had the vocal mic up. There's some bleed. You can hear stuff coming through the wall. And we ended up using essentially most of a demo vocal on this. That's just kind of the way it happens. And I really like it. But there is a processed vocal, which is this one. Which is a little brighter, a little bit more aggressive in those high mids. But I think I prefer the softer approach. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that this needs to be brighter in this vocal. But this is like the handheld, I think it's handheld, but 57, you know, because she actually tracked this originally with some acoustics, so there might be some acoustic bleed. I'm actually trying to remember. So I'm going to keep the originals and not use the prints which have gone through EQ. Yeah, there's a bit of saturation on the final print vocal, and you can choose to use it. We definitely gritted it up a little bit. So let's bring down these harmonies a little bit. I love them, I do love them, but they're a little overwhelming. So we've got these backgrounds on the O's. So let's grab those. I'm just going to call them BV's O's. Okay, let's throw those in. We should probably bring them down and bring them up. They're not panned yet. Kind of like them in mono, actually. They sound great in mono, don't they?
Winds are swirling all around us.
I like where we're at. I really do. Let's throw in these O's.
This is dangerous, but we
Bring them down. Let's bring them down. So let's automate the EQ on the beat, because in the verses with it EQ'd so dramatically.
just off the coast, waves are crashing.
So from here, I'm just going to put a cut in there. So from here is where the drum beat comes in. So is this making sense? Do you all remember what we did? So we decided we're going to turn off the high passing when the other drum isn't playing. When the other drums are playing, that's when we high pass the beat. So it gives a little bit more definition to the low end, because there was a bit of fighting with the low end of the two beats. Okay, so I'm going to go in there and grab master bypass, add, like this. And whatever your DAW is, you'll have different ways of doing it. But so I can go turn it off there, like so.
We need to feel the rush and not keep. We need to feel the rush and not keep saying I can't keep playing this game.
Cool. So now let's go and do the same thing here. Like this. We still might have to do some more shaping to that, because we'll need it to drive the choruses just a little bit. I'm sorry, drive the verses just a little bit more. Okay.
We need to feel the rush and not keep saying I can't keep playing this game. I keep finding myself inside the same.
We have to give a shout out to our good friends at DistroKid for sponsoring the video. Again, if you haven't already, please download these multi-tracks and go also to DistroKid. Eric's about to put it in, aren't you, Eric? That's what she said. What? So we got a 30% off for anybody who wants to try and join DistroKid. They are sponsoring this video. They are paying Eric's wages today. Yay! Go Eric, go Eric. All right, so let's have a quick listen to the. So, why do we like DistroKid? So we like DistroKid because, and it's a great example because we're using Katey Laurel. Katey Laurel is one of the few independent artists I work with, one of only a handful that pays regularly and does all their own accounting. It's difficult for independent artists to do that, especially if they're only making like $1,000 a year or $150 a month or something like that. And you may have an album with them that you own 20% of that $100 or that $200, whatever. So you get 30, 40 bucks a month, which doesn't seem like a lot of money, but it is once you've got 10, 20, 30, 40 albums out there with different independent artists that you're working with. I mean, at our height, we used to do like 3 sessions a day and film. Yeah, 3 different independent sessions a day. So if you imagine that you are getting a little few pennies from all of those different sessions, and it adds up and you're not getting paid because they can't do the accounting because it's too much, it's too overwhelming. It's a lot of money lost over a year. So now if you have your artist load up on DistroKid and you have your own DistroKid account, they will separate the money there and you'll get paid. So if you've got 100 songs all paying, you know, 20 bucks a month, you can do the math. It's an extra couple of grand coming in. So definitely sign up for DistroKid. It has been a real godsend for us. We have artists that we work with, like the Workday release, all their stuff is on DistroKid. They get paid, we get paid, everybody's happy. Damien McGlinty, when we did those 2 songs with Damien, those have been very successful for us. We get tons of YouTube plays, he gets tons of streams, and we get extra income from that. It's a really, really good way to take out all of the hassle of trying to chase up an artist for checks of $87. It's tough, you know, $87 a quarter doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when it's multiple artists, it can be the difference between you know, buying yourself a new compressor or a new microphone or just paying the bills.
Just off the coast, waves are crashing.
So I'm very tempted to do something. I'm very tempted to get another one of those EQs and boost a little bit of low end and then turn it off. So do exactly what I was doing. So sort of, yeah, I think I like that idea. So we've got the high passing going on, which I really, really like doing. But let's go and grab an EQ. So this is just going to be for the main beat.
Just off the coast, waves are crashing. Sirens call us to the rocks. And everywhere the lights are flashing. Maybe we are falling. Maybe we should call the whole thing.
So let's listen to it at the top.
Just off the coast, waves are crashing. Sirens call us to the rocks.
So I like what's going on there. Let's see what happens when the when this kicks in.
I keep saying I can't keep playing this game. I keep finding myself in.
Yeah, so it needs to turn off in those sections. So it's getting all muddy when there is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the automation on this. This is why I love automation on EQs. You can do boosts and cuts and vary them from one. I could probably do all of this on one plugin if I wanted to set up 2 different things, but we've already committed, so. Okay. Okay, so now what I've done is I've got an EQ that's only playing in the verses and it boosts the low end. So now listen to the verse.
Off the coast, waves are crashing.
Then it turns off in the choruses and then the high pass comes in, allowing the drum print to take over on the low end. So have a listen in the transition.
It's dangerous, but we need to feel the rush. And I keep saying I can't keep playing this game.
Yeah, we can compare it to the console mix in a second, Tom. Let's just get the vocal into a good place, the lead vocal. At the moment, there's zero reverb on it. Yeah, there's not really anything going on. I can unmute now. And yeah, so here is...
Just off the coast, waves are crashing. Sirens call us to the rock.
God bless a 57. There's quite aggressive compression going on, and it was going through a really, really nice mic pre. So that helped. But we'll go back to comes free with our DAW, but I'm going to just put a bit of EQ on first. I am going to put a little bit of compression on there, even though it's already quite compressed. We'll make a decision based on that afterwards. So let's get some EQ. And all we're really going to do, pretty generic, is get rid of some of the low lows.
Sirens call us to the rocks. Sirens call us to the rocks. Sirens call us to the rocks.
Put some air on it.
Sirens call us to the rocks. Sirens call us to the rocks. Sirens call us to the rocks.
Hear it in the track.
Sirens call us to the rocks.
A little bit of de-essing needed, just a shade. Let's start with the de-esser first. Again, let's go stock. So whatever you've got on your DAW will be comparable to this.
Sirens call us to the rocks. 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 Sirens call us to the rocks.
Nice. Simple.
Sirens call us to the rocks.
Now, there is a warmth in her voice that I like. Now, this is Katey's inherent. This is her voice. Sirens. She's definitely holding the mic close. There's compression going on. You know, let's keep it like this before we get too clever, before we start opening OX sound and getting nuts. I'm trying to do this all with stock plugins. So... I like the latest version of Pro Tools that it solo saves it immediately. Forgot about that. So we're just going to go, we'll call it vocal verb, vocal reverb, and I'm just going to get the plate that we know and love. So the Avid, which is not reverb 1, it's deverb. Here it is, and I'm going to go and grab a medium plate.
Sirens call us to the rocks.
Let's try it from the top. Let's just sort of see what we've got.
Just off the coast, waves are crashing. Sirens call us to the rocks. And everywhere the lights are flashing. Maybe we'll follow, maybe we should call.
The mic pre was a what's it called? Tube Tech back in the olden days. This was a Tube Tech.
This is dangerous, but we need to feel the rush. And I keep saying I can't keep playing this game.
So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to this chorus. We've still got some rides and stuff to do in the verse, and then we're going to compare it with the console mix. So this is what we have just done now. In the last hour, we spent an hour on this with the talking. So we're going to listen to that, and then we're going to compare it to the SSL console mix.
And I keep saying I can't keep playing this game. I keep finding myself inside the same old saying, hurricane, oh, 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 hurricane, oh, 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 hurricane.
Now let's listen to the original SSL console mix. Louder. Let's bring it down a bit. Sorry. Oh, we went from the volume of the Ohs. The only thing I like better, there's only one thing I like better about the SSL console mix. Most of it I don't like better at all. I prefer this approach. Is that the da-dum-dum-da-dum has been ridden. Those were ridden. So we need to ride those in our mix. But here's our mix that we just did, ladies and gentlemen. No, neither mix are mastered. There's no mastered. It's just it's just with the SSL, there was a lot more compression going on. I like this approach more that we're doing. I think I like that level, and I like it being mono. Yeah, I think we've beaten the console mix. I think we've given it a different interpretation. It's more modern, but still harps back to that. It's brighter in the right ways that I really love. Like I said, the thing I would do is now we need to alternate verses, but also in the choruses, I get those down, 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 bow, down parts, because that's me. That's me trying to do Wichita lineman, you know. I'm a lineman for the county, you know. I mean, I'm just being honest. I'm a huge, huge, huge Wichita lineman, Galveston, the American Trilogy. Interviewing Jimmy Webb was a dream come true. If you haven't checked out that interview, please do. Thanks, everyone, for joining in. Now, there are multi-tracks that you can download. Eric will put up that link. If you're not already an Academy member, please join us. There is obviously a breakdown of this mix in there as well. If you're an Academy member already and you haven't downloaded these multi-tracks and mixed them, please do. And we'll do mix critiques on them. I love this song. I really do. It's been absolutely wonderful to mix it live here with you. And of course, thank you for DistroKid. We really, really appreciate your support. And if you haven't already, go down below and you can join for 30% off. And why do we like it? We like it because the artists that we work with, if we're on DistroKid and they're on DistroKid, we can separate the money at source and get paid. We don't have to chase them. They don't have to do any accounting. And it works. It works. We have multiple independent artists that pay us that way, and it adds up. And like I said, it might only be $20 a month on a song, but if you've got 100 songs, you get the math. It's really, really, really a wonderful way of working. So thanks, everyone. I really, really appreciate it. Speak to you all again very soon. Tune in next week. We will do another live stream. I think we'll be back to our usual Mondays, won't we?
Yes.
Yes, we'll be back to our usual Mondays. With the moving of the studio, it's been a little haphazard. So thank you, DistroKid, for bearing with us, because they were usually doing on Mondays for them. Thanks. If you're not a member of the Academy, please join. If you're coming to the book release tomorrow, we did give out 25 free tickets to people for the book release. Anybody could get there, and you'll get a book as well. And it's going to be amazing. Last International are playing. Bob Clearmountain is recording it and mixing it. We're going to film it. It's going to be a really freaking amazing, great time. So check all of that out. Very excited, everybody. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, goodbye.